Warning! Do not watch this video if you are a weak Christian and are easily offended. Hi and welcome to Bible Walkthrough. This is Wes Warner.
Adam Ayers here.
And today we're going to be wondering, what in the world are you drinking, Adam? Is that beer?
What's it to you? It's my cup. Christian Liberty. 1 Corinthians. Bible Walkthrough.
All right, and let's look at 1 Corinthians 8. Paul is talking about a situation where some members of the Corinthian church are eating foods that have been sacrificed to idols, and others are being offended by it because it's seen as a spiritual kind of worship, as it says in here, chapter 8, verse 7 of 1 Corinthians. It is not everyone, however, who has this knowledge. Since some have become so accustomed to idols until now, they still think of the food we eat as offered to an idol, and their conscience, being weak, is defiled. Food will not bring us close to God. We are no worse off if we do not eat, and no better off if we do. But take care that this liberty of yours does not somehow become a stumbling block to the weak. For if others see you, who possess knowledge, eating in the temple of an idol, might they not, since their conscience is weak, be encouraged to the point of eating food sacrificed to idols? So by your knowledge, those weak believers for whom Christ died are destroyed. But when you thus sin against the members of your family, and wound their conscience when it is weak, you sin against Christ. Therefore, if food is a cause of their falling, I will never eat meat, so that I may not cause one of them to fall. So that's why you should not be drinking beer right now, Adam.
I don't think you saw me drink anything.
I don't know. It's suspicious. I can't see it.
Yes, that's true.
It smells like beer. Somebody's going to see you.
Somebody's going to see me drinking something.
This is the internet.
This is the internet.
Anyone can see you.
They can see me. You don't know if I'm wearing pants.
I'm offended.
You should be. Yeah, this is one of those classic texts that seems to be taken up and utilized against people frequently. Really, on an ad hoc basis, to sort of as a blanket denial of anything that you don't like that someone else is doing. Well, that offends me. Now, one of the things that's difficult to consider here is that there are three parties. There's Paul, there's the persons at Corinth who used to worship idols. He says that very explicitly, who believe that idols represent gods. And then there is the believer, probably of the Jewish tradition, who really doesn't account idols as anything. This is if you want to see, the emancipated and enlightened Christian who now realizes those idols really mean nothing. It also may mean those of the Corinthian philosophical tradition, the Greek philosophical tradition, that had already come to see the gods as metaphors for philosophical principles. So there could be three factions, maybe, because Jews would probably be very averse to anything offered in an idol's temple anyway. So there's these enlightened and unenlightened, either way. And the point that Paul seems to be making is, some people think that when you are offering, or when you are eating a food that's been offered to an idol, and he goes on about this a little bit later in the next chapter, when you're eating something that's been offered to an idol, you are having a real spiritual connection to that idol. Now, this is a different sort of scenario than simply offensive or inoffensive behaviors. This is talking about connection with and allegiance to a competing deity. That's not just, do you like rock music? It's with which deity are you aligned by your behavior? It's very clear here, Paul says, if they see you dining in an idol's temple. Now that's a lot different. I don't think that we're in an idol's temple right now. And that's not talking about just the innate morality or immorality of a substance. It's talking about, is this, in essence, a communion with a competing God? And that's a different situation than we typically think of when we think of things that cause offense. Some of your thoughts.
That's interesting, Adam. I like how you're explaining that. When I read it, I see Paul warning us not to do something that would cause a brother of ours to stumble. So if they're in a place of weakness and vulnerability, I need to be careful with them where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something I would do, like I drink alcohol or eat celery or wear a pink bunny suit.
You know, I was going to talk to you about the pink bunny suit.
Oh, God, it always comes back to me. So I never should have done that. So
this is the internet.
So if I were to do something like that would cause one of my brothers to stumble, who has had some really bad experience with alcohol or pink bunny suits, and they're really trying to recover from this, and any kind of exposure to that would really cause them to relapse in their faith and cause them to backtrack, and they're not ready to go and build up strength in that area yet. They really just need they have a weakness in their faith, and they need extra comfort and extra care. Well, I'm not going to show up with a pink bunny suit on and cause him to regress and start sucking his thumb, and I'm not going to have him do that. So I'm going to be careful to not wear my bunny suit or not drink alcohol around that person, just to take care of their heart and take care of their faith where they're at. But it is interesting, in order for that constraint to be on my liberty, the person I'm with has to be in a place of weakness in their faith. And
yes,
you can explain this really well. I like what you say.
This is central to the issue, because Paul is warning against stumbling somebody by emboldening them to do something that is difficult for their own conscience. Now, if you are stumbling somebody, it means that they are looking up to you and emulating. They're emboldened to do the same thing. Now, this is not typically what we think of when we think of giving offense to someone. Normally, offense is an indignance. So if I have a problem with cell phones and you're on your cell phone, and I say, how dare you be using your cell phone? That's what we think of as offense. But that's not what Paul's talking about, and you're right on this. It's rather, oh, you're using a cell phone. I was addicted to my cell phone, but if you're doing it, I can do it. And normally, when this passage is applied to others, the person who's applying it very rarely says, well, I would do it. They're saying, I would never do that. And that's two different kinds of offense. The offense that Paul is warning against is the offense of enticing someone to do something that they have problems with. And particularly, this was a problem of enticing them to do something that they think splits their loyalty to another god. And that's a very difficult position to be in. So Paul would say, don't do that in this very concrete, real situation in Corinth. When you know somebody was used to worship their God by eating those foods, don't eat those foods in front of them simply because you know better. But what he's not endorsing is someone saying, how dare you do that? That offends me. And because it offends me, you should not do it. Because that person really isn't being emboldened to do it at all. Actually, they're being strengthened in their self-righteousness not to do it. So, if this were the beer, and I don't like beer, and you start to take it, and I say, how dare you? That's sinful. I haven't been enticed to do it at all. I'm really still standing very distant. But if I see that as communion to Ganesh or something, and you're going to take a drink of it, I'm like, well, I can do it too, even though I used to worship Ganesh. Now I'm going to do it. Then it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, if it's someone who has a trouble with pink bunny suits, don't wear the pink bunny suits in front of them, because they'll be right next to you in a pink bunny suit soon.
Mm.
But it's somebody who just condemns pink
Not
bunny
good.
suits. It's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause they're not emboldened to wear a pink bunny suit at all. They're strengthened not to wear.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a very touchy issue for the Christian community now.
So, should we post this video on the internet?
If it's going to embolden people who think of the internet as worship of a foreign god, probably not. But if it's simply going to make people indignant who don't like us, I'd say post it, brother. Jesus, and that's one of the points.
You know,
Jesus didn't care about whether or not he gave people offense. He did, in fact, he was called a wine bibber and a friend of sinners, and that gave offense. He did things that were considered unclean. That gave offense. Enough offense to where they crucified. So this is not just make sure that you step on no toes.
Mm-hmm.
This is don't do things that cause people to fall back into what they think is the worship of their old god.
Mm-hmm. Good. Mm.
So it appears that if anyone is going to apply this verse to someone else, and note that Paul applies it to himself, he says, if this is the case, I won't eat meat so that I may not cause one of them to offend. His end point is to constrain my own behavior, not to constrain someone else's. But if anyone is going to try to apply this to someone else's, some third party's behavior, then that person must say, I am weak as a Christian. I'm not the stronger one. I'm the weak one. And would you please do me a favor? Because I'm having a hard time with this, and someday I hope that my conscience will be stronger. But what we cannot afford to do is to apply it to someone and say, how dare you? Because that's not taking the weak and the humble position at all. And Paul would say this is all about who's weaker. And that's that point you brought up earlier.
Mm-hmm. When somebody's got a cast, you don't punch them in it.
Yep, that's exactly it. And don't think that you are the strong one when you are judging.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sit down, watch the video, have something to drink. Your choice. We won't tell you which. We won't tell you what or when.
Well, just do it to the glory of God.
To the glory of God.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get to that in 1 Corinthians 9 later.
Yes.
We'll see you next text, next beverage, next food, next time on Bible Walkthrough. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.